So to start off, I reject this idea mostly. So from what I've seen, people who complain about this are usually players who like exclusively play AAA titles, or they're like trending game players. But there's like so many genres and so many games out there. I'd be surprised if somebody who regularly games can't find at least two or three games that they can like enjoy on rotation, right? I think the problem is more likely that tastes just change over time. And occasionally you just have to be honest and reevaluate your interests. As we get older, we just have more things to worry about. So the grind might feel like a waste of time now, or you just don't derive the same happiness from the newest game installment in a series like I used to. For instance, I used to love playing the Call of Duty games when I was younger. Like I'd beat the campaign as like a ritual before starting the multiplayer, and then I would just like dive into a domination match or a search and destroy match, and I would just play that for hours, like hours. The COD games they kept releasing, and the player base on the current COD would shrink, and it would become harder to find matches. The old COD would have a low player count and just be hacked to hell. And eventually it got to the point where I didn't really like the most recent COD, which was, I think, Ghosts when I quit. I moved to games that required more tactics to be successful. I played a bit of League of Legends because I had friends playing it, and generally that requires some amount of coordination to win. So I started liking that. Played Overwatch when it first came out in like 2016. Started playing Apex. I realized like I really like the competitive grind, and I'm a very competitive person, and so I shifted from the casual grind of pub stomping and COD games to games where winning and losing actually matter, and my decisions directly affect that outcome. But nowadays, I kind of want to finish the backlog of story mode games that I have. And so I've been working on that, and that's pretty fun to me. And honestly, I need a break from the competitive grind every once in a while. I will admit there is a bit of a problem with over monetization of bigger game series. So, for instance, with the newer Mortal Kombat games, the DLC characters and expansions are announced before the game is even launched, which to me is completely absurd. It used to be that DLC was like developer add-ons that they wanted to add on release, but they couldn't because of like, I don't know, time constraints, or they wanted to give the players a little bit of extra content to keep the game, relevant longer. But that was like years ago. That was PS2 or like early 360 days. Nowadays, people are conditioned to expect DLC to be released with a game, which I don't, I don't think that's acceptable. But welcome to the corporate world. Also, competitive scenes. When competitive gaming started to become more mainstream, whenever that was, I don't know, 2000s, 2016, I don't know. But big studios started releasing games, and you'd see within a couple of months, scrims were happening between like CLG and TSM and these other teams. And it's like, how could these players possibly be this good at the game? So much so that they're a pro, and this is actually worth watching. Like, it's been like 30 days. How are you that good at the game? Corporatization of the gaming industry has probably negatively impacted the quality of some of the releases out there. So to some extent, yeah, I can probably understand like where some of the complaints are coming from. But I just don't believe there's nothing out there to enjoy. Like there's an absurd amount of gaming content, and if it's not from big studios, then it's from indie devs, right? Maybe you're just looking in the wrong place. Something else that you have to acknowledge is that games are a form of art. And sometimes art hits and sometimes it doesn't, right? Even in art, there's some amount of societal pressure of how things should look or perform. But for the most part, the artist's worldview, their goals, their experiences are going to inform how a piece of art is delivered. And that's just how it's always been. I just want people to engage a bit more critically with this topic, right? There's too many surface level doomer content creators out there that give their opinion without considering the counter opinion. So here you go.